Hello, my name is Laura. I'm a filmmaker, and on this channel I make content around filmmaking and creativity in general. I've started a series called Creative Endeavors where I sort of bring you along on my journey. Today I wanted to talk to you about my writing process for when I write scripts for short films. To begin with, it's a very messy process. So I kind of have like a lot of random project ideas like swirling around in my head, having a merry old time. So I kind of find it hard to really hone in and like focus on one project over an extended period of time. And if your brain works in the same way, I see you and I hear you. I try to accommodate my process around my scattered brain. I usually work with like 4 different documents called the treatment, the outline, the mind dump, and the character sheets. The mind dump is pretty self-explanatory. It's where I leave my brain for a little period of time. It's essentially where I kind of word vomit anything and everything that goes through my mind about a particular project. Yeah, as you can probably imagine, it's an absolute joy to sort through. The treatment is where I put all of the important elements of a script, so a synopsis, a logline, character information, and yeah, things like that. The outline is where I outline the script, so where I'm a lot more focused on the structure of the short story. And then the character sheets are where I put any relevant information about my characters and where I also sometimes answer questions about the characters. I usually work with all 4 documents simultaneously because they kind of build upon each other. So I have one idea in one, then I need to apply it to the rest of the documents, and they kind of slowly construct. Another thing that I do is I do a lot of free writing by hand, kind of try and be non-judgmental and just like flow of consciousness type of thing, to just put words on paper. And obviously I'm not going to use everything that I write in my notebooks in that way, but there are sometimes like little nuggets of cool ideas or information that I can then apply to something that I'm writing. So yeah, once I'm done free writing, typically I'll just transmit the information, the relevant information, onto my computer. Once I'm more like writing the actual script, this is when bear with me, I put sort of random phrases and like dialogues that come to my mind in like a very loose sort of, they like loosely respond to one another. It's basically phrases that loosely respond to one another. And then I kind of try to make sense of that and build around it, then add the details and like try to make sense of it. Yeah, essentially I do start writing potentially a little bit early, but that's because it helps me to see how the characters interact, how they talk, how they exist in different spaces, and I kind of need that to start writing. It can be a little bit annoying when I am looking more at the structure, because then if the structure changes, I need to rewrite the entire thing often. But you know, hey ho, rewriting is part of writing, so it's just, yeah, part of the process, you know? Once the dialogue is written, however, I try to get rid of some of it, like try to translate the dialogue potentially more into visual language or physical language. Yeah, because if I don't get rid of some of the dialogue, I feel like my movies can get bogged down with word overkill sometimes, and yeah, we don't want that. We don't want to kill the audience with words. I've noticed sometimes that like a look from an actor or like the subtext or just silence is a lot more eloquent than anything I could ever write. I have developed like more craft-related techniques over time, and one of them is to look at, when I'm looking at a scene, to look at the action, the location, and the relationship between the characters that are present in the scene, Once I flesh out those three elements and like look at the way that they interact with each other, I am a lot more capable of tackling a scene. Another thing that I've started doing is also, once I'm in the outlining stage, is to use the reverse cause and effect technique, which is basically you start at the end and you go backwards all the way up to the beginning, and you look at the cause and effect from the end to the beginning. So for example, let's just say that at the end of one of my short stories, a woman kills a man. Reverse cause and effect would make me then look at, okay, she killed a man because the man did that because she did that, and like all the way back to the beginning, if that makes sense. And this helps me to make sure that my story makes sense and is kind of going in the right direction. It also helps me to see if there are like any plot holes or sort of logical issues, and it helps me to keep only the important, relevant information in my script. I'm the kind of person that loves going on like little tangents and can sometimes get distracted. So this particular technique has helped me to, stay on task, as it were. And I've even been able to like finish first drafts of scripts using this technique. So, do with that information what you will. But at this point, I schedule in an existential crisis, wondering why the hell I'm even doing this. Once I slowly come back down to earth, I start looking at the way that I want to build my characters. I start with the basics first, making sure that my characters have a want, a need, a flaw, and also sometimes a secret. To flesh out my characters a little further, I will also sometimes respond to questions about my characters, even if the questions are not relevant to the script. I found like a couple of character questionnaires that I'll link in the description below, but some of the examples of questions that I've answered is like, oh, if you were to blow up an area of your life, which one would it be, and what would the redo look like? Does your therapist want you to work on something? What is it? Are you going to work on it? Yes, no, if yes, why, if no, why? There's also like the Proust questionnaire, which is a lot more philosophical, which I kind of like as well, which is, it's like, oh, what does pure happiness look like? Or what is one of your fatal flaws? Things like that. Just like very, very juicy, very dramatic stuff that I use to flesh out my characters. Yeah, I also have sometimes written scenes that I know will not be part of the script. Those scenes are usually either scenes from the past or scenes from the character's daily life. It helps me to see how they would exist off the page, or like to see especially how they would exist beyond the movie, and make sure that they have a little bit more depth to them. One thing that I've learned as I've been writing is that it's important to be clear about your intention with each piece that you're writing. You don't have to figure out your intention straight away. Like, sometimes for me it comes immediately, sometimes it comes as I'm working on the piece. And I do also want to remind people that, like, at least for me, the intention can be as deep or as frivolous as you want it to be. So, it can go from, I would like to explore the complexities and the beauty of female solidarity, to, I just want to have fun with neon fashion in this particular piece. And either one is absolutely fine. I think intention is important so that you don't get lost and you remind yourself of why you're actually writing this piece and why you're putting in time. It's also important when it comes to feedback time, because feedback, especially if you're asking for feedback from a couple of different people, it can become quite overwhelming. You can sort of get lost and be pulled in a lot of different directions and feel like maybe you have to change your entire thing from the beginning. If you have a clear intention, it helps you to filter out the feedback that is useful to you from the feedback that isn't. For example, for one of my short films that I did at film school, I wanted to explore female solidarity. And one of my teachers' feedback was that he thought that I could get rid of the friends of the main character, the female friends of the main character. I knew, because my intention was to portray female solidarity, and I knew that it would be really difficult to do that without the friends being present in the script. I knew that I didn't want to get rid of the friends, right? But instead what I did was that I reworked my characterization of the friends to make it fit into the script a little bit more, and maybe to like make them pop, you know? So I didn't just apply his feedback, I adapted it in a way that made sense to what I wanted my writing to be. I also wanted to talk a little bit about research. Sometimes when you get stuck, it's not for lack of imagination or creativity, it's genuinely that you're lacking the information that you need to move forwards. And one of the ways that you can get that information is just by research. Sometimes you can go down rabbit holes, but research is still crucial. I tend to underestimate how much research is necessary, especially when it comes to the world building, because I mistakenly sometimes think, oh, but my story is set in modern contemporary times and it's in a context that I understand. I was like, yes, but every space, every context has its particularity and its specificity, and sometimes even its like particular vocabulary that you need to include in your script and apply, because that's going to lend your story credibility. For example, I don't know, if you're setting your story in a fire station, the firefighters interact with each other in a specific way, they interact with the fire station in a specific way. There's like specific rules or specific hierarchy, specific vocabulary that you need to make sure you get right. The other thing that I think research is important for is that sometimes it provides you with the details that you need to be inspired. Like sometimes the details that you come across become crucial elements of your short film script. So yeah, I don't know if anyone doesn't know the importance of research, but yeah, I just wanted to underline that. It's also the really fun element of writing sometimes, is that you get to dwell into a completely different world for a short period of time and to like learn all of these random specific things about that world. All right, now for the end of this video, I wanted to talk about the things that are a little bit more fun. So I get a lot of visual inspiration from looking at like movies or music videos, especially movies that are sort of deal with a similar topic sometimes, or just movies that I've seen in the past that have inspired me. It's motivating to look at pretty pictures, but it's also, I look at what I'm drawn to visually and I make certain choices based on that and just like shape my script a little bit more and get a little bit more particular and specific about what I want my script to look like and feel like. Yeah. What else? Oh, of course, soundtracks. I have used soundtracks for some of my work. For example, my latest short film, I made a soundtrack for each of the 3 main characters. If you look at the songs, a lot of the songs are about women either killing men or just being murderous in other ways. Listening to music or looking at images unlocks a different part of your creative brain that can help sort of get you fresh ideas. And yeah, lean into the fun side of creativity a little bit. I've also noticed, especially with soundtracks, that it really helps me figure out the tone and the mood of the piece. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it from me. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, please consider giving it a little bit of a like or a comment or even subscribe. And yeah, see you in the next one.